Hi, Vinayak. Good
Yeah,
evening. Yeah, so we'll continue our discussion. We'll try and finish fast because there's a lot to cover today. So we'll finish production today, and the reason why I why we discussed yesterday about the different factors of production is important because now you'll understand the production function as well as law of variable proportions more easier. Uh, Now, production function, you only need to know the basic, what the equation is about, what it sort of means. That's about it. You do not need to get into Cobb Douglas. I checked your syllabus. So that will finish faster. But first, we have to finish the Marxist take on production. So let's start with that.
okay.
So basically, what Marxism talks about, you must have heard this term, workers of the world unite,
Yeah,
which basically means that there are two classes within society, the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. Now, depending on who owns these factors of production, which are who exactly owns the land on which the production process is being done, who owns the who pays the salary for the entrepreneurs as well as the laborers, and finally, who actually has the capital source to run the entire production process, not only in a short period of time within a few months, but also in a long term over 2 or 3 years or next 10 years as such. Depending on who owns these factors of production, you have basically two classes of society, and the bourgeoisie, that is the middle upper class, middle class, more the middle upper class and the ruling classes of society. Those are the people who own these factors of production and are the owners of various factories or corporations or companies. Uh, or even it could also mean landlords in that sense. So these people, these bourgeoisie, are the people who own the factors of production, while the proletariat are those who do not own these factors of production, who are laborers, who are working on a daily wage and are hired by the bourgeoisie class to continue the production process. And what Marx observed, and this is something I mentioned a lot in previous classes, is that he came up at the time when the Industrial Revolution had just started up. And therefore, you did not have many laws protecting the proletariat from unjust or unjust practices. So, for example, long working hours, or in case there were injuries, there was no sort of medical insurance that you could avail for. So, based on that, and based on how much the the labor class was being exploited by the bourgeoisie, who of course owned the factors of production and therefore had a strong economic backing. They had money, they had political support, everything. They had complete control over what how the production process goes on. So, what Marxism essentially talks about is taking control of these factors of production. So, when they say workers of the world unite, what Marx is essentially meaning is that the proletariat should rise up either in a violent format or in a non-violent format and take over these factors of production. And all of these factors of production should be equally divided amongst the laboring class, and they should own them maybe in certain percentages like a cooperative body or a certain group of people. should own these factors of production and then continue the production process, but on a basis of a need and not on a basis of private profit or private ownership. So the idea, therefore, of any capitalist at that point of time and even today is to earn money, constantly earn money, invest it, and expand your business, which is good because it sort of also creates employment chances for a large number of people. But for Marxism, it was you continue the production process, but the production process should not over exploit the resources. Much of private capitalism, what we see is not only we see large scale employment, yes, but also we see inequality as well as we see natural resources, non-renewable resources being exploited for profit or being used up for profit with no plan as such. If it sort of gets over, what are we going to do? What is our fail safe? What is our backup plan? Have we developed renewable resources to the extent that it covers everyone who needs it? So you have, even with Marxism, you also have down back like negative effects, and this is something that has been seen in Russia as well as Cuba, and many socialist based countries, where you see that when this sort of revolution happens or when this movement happens towards Marxism, eventually you will have a group of people who actually take, of course, they take control of these factors of production, and they control the wage rate, they control everything. But you see them going crazy with power, which basically means that once a person is in power, that person does not want to leave that position of power. And so something we've seen with a lot of political leaders in the past and the present, and we will continue seeing it in the future. And because of that, this entire Marxist idea or this colonist idea of solving inequality or giving what the people need actually fails. And so something I think so we saw in Commanding Heights, where in the first few phases of history after the World War, after the Second World War, we see a lot of countries moving towards Marxism, moving towards a socialist economy, because they thought that it will take care of everyone. It will give everything what the people need, and it will satisfy everyone's demand, and everyone will get employed in government-based institutions or government-based factories because the ownership is with the government, and the government is looking for the welfare of the people, a so-called welfare state with health benefits, with social security, all of those things. But eventually, you realize that okay, it's in Russia. We realized because they went for a nuclear race with the United States during the Cold War, people's welfare got left out. The problem of solving inequality got left out. Cuba, they were successful, but then they also realized that okay, it's we cannot do this in a long term, because one of the reasons, if you see Cuba's history, we see that during the Cold War, especially during the Cold War, because Cuba was in allies with Russia and the other communist and China and other socialist countries, we see that there were a lot of embargoes being placed, embargoes and sanctions being placed by the United States on Cuba because of the communist or the socialist leaning that they had. So that is so then they realize that if these embargoes continue, our people will not get benefit, and also the tourism sector was being restricted, and a lot of people are earning money because the dollar was much higher, the euro was much higher, and when people come from these countries, they generally do the exchange rate business, so it also benefits the government as well as the people within the tourism industry. So last from in 1990s, you see a lot of people in Cuba moving towards the tourism industry because they know that because of the exchange rate and their income will be much greater when they go and exchange the currency. So that is the idea. So for example, if if you're in the tourism business in India and someone does not have an American does not have Indian rupees to give you, If he gives you like $2 or $3, that will be much more, or $5 for the bus fare or the train fare. That will be much more beneficial for you, because you're, at the end of the day, if the bus fare is $2 and he's giving you $5, $3 essentially, that's around what, 70, so 75 something. That's around 200 rupees you're earning over and above what the fare is. So these are the problems, and it hasn't. So one thing that we've learned from Marxism is, unless and until there is a proper structure, there are proper institutions to take care of these problems, communism or socialism cannot go in the long run. So that's basically the idea and how it turns with respect to the factors of production. The basic idea was capturing these factors of production for the laboring class, and they will divide it amongst themselves, and they will continue the production process as per the need of the society. So that's about it for this. Any doubts regarding this?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I want
So
to know
now,
about the
yeah,
functionalist approach towards this.
yeah. Could you explain the functionalist approach to me? They give me a small, short idea of what it means.
Um, this functionalist approach, right? Actually, I don't know myself, but I have a gist of it that no, no, I can't say it. No.
Yeah, give me the gist. I'll be,
Oh, what can I
yeah.
say?
So
It is something. It is something where a service is produced with both man-made and natural inputs.
okay, so I'll have to Google this out because it's the first time I'm hearing this. And it's functionalist. I'm getting the spelling wrong, but it will be functionalist. There are different functionalist approaches.
Okay.
Functionalist approach to which, Marxism or factors of production?
Pardon?
A functionalist approach to what theory?
The factors of production.
Okay, let's see if we find something. There is some. There is a paper on it. Mm, what is basically, um, yeah, just give me 1 minute. I'll get this book for you. Was it only 2 pages? I find it difficult. It's not 2 pages. So this is locked. So one.
Yeah, there is an option written right at the right side. Buy ebook Euro 128. Yeah, that no. You can search it in images, I guess.
No, no. I have a way to get all this. Don't worry.
Uh,
Something you learn in university when you need such materials. Here you have it. This is the entire thing. Yeah, it is 104 pages, so I need time to go through this. Um, and once that's done, then I'll sort of give you a gist about what this is. But just give me some time to go through this, and I'll try and get. Let's see if there is some.
All
There
right.
are some. Yeah, this looks more like a management paper, but in case there is some relationship uh, uh, with the factors of production, then we'll sort of think about that.
All right.
So yes, so based on this production, based on factors of production, you have two important theories that come in. So in first is production function. In the production function, you will be considering in short all four factors of production, that is your land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, and it could also, and also all four: land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, and everything that, all of it that comes together. But in law of variable proportions, we'll be only considering one. We'll be considering the production, amount of production, and how that level of production, how those levels of production essentially are affected by adding one additional unit of labor. Now, let's say I give you a, we'll do that test later on. So what is the production function about? So a production function is simply, it is just simply figuring out what the total production, or what will be the total output in a given day, or in a given month, or within a period of 1 year, based on how many inputs you're actually putting in. So, for example, your input could be investment in buying more machines in a certain factory to make the production process faster. So that would be more fixed assets coming into your business to sort of increase productivity and efficiency. So let's say, for example, originally with five machines, you were manufacturing 100 t-shirts a day. Now I come in with more capital as an additional investor to you, and I say, okay, I'm going to give you enough amount of investment to buy an additional two machines. Now with one machine, let's say you could produce 20 shirts. Now with those additional two machines, you can produce 40 more. So with seven machines, you're literally producing 140 shirts a day, which is an increase. Uh, which is an increase from what the original value was. So in the production function, so for, let's say, for example, Q is equal to F, and in the bracket A is the fixed asset or the capital. So I will change the value of A, and therefore the entire production, the entire function, the final value of Q will therefore change, because one of the variables within that function, within the function, is actually increasing. Then B could be, let's say B is labor. Okay, so B is labor. Uh, let's say you had five people working for you, and with five people working in the factory, uh, with five people working in the factory, you were able to produce 100 shirts or 140 shirts. Let's say the machine's fixed assets, the capital value also has increased. So 140 shirts. Now are you, let's say you hire two more people, because now you realize that the amount of investment with so for example, I invested for two machines, but you now realize that you got one machine on discount, and whatever certain amount of capital was remaining, you could hire two more people within that. So what is happening? Your B value, that is your labor value, is going up from 5 plus 2, it's becoming 7. So let's say those 7 people can actually manufacture with efficiency. Let's say they are skilled workers, they can manufacture 10 shirts more than 140 each. So then it becomes 160. So again, your labor value, because you're increasing your labor value, and that is coming in, these are in session, this is essentially your input. So one minute. This essentially, this is your capital value, this is your labor value. So this we are adding 2 here, and we're also adding 2 machines here. So then this total value will start going up. So this is firms generally, any sort of companies or even a farmer also can use this production function to determine how much the output will increase. So originally the output was 100 shirts. Now by increasing this by 2 units, we are getting an increase to 160. So your net increase is what? 60 shirts additionally in a day. So let's say 100 into 30. So the original value. So how much is it coming out? It comes out to 3000. Now by adding 60 to the process, what we are doing is we are increasing the total production value. So how much will this be? 3 6 are 18. 1 goes up, 3 ones are 3, 4. So it becomes 4. Essentially, it's becoming 4,000, 4.8, essentially 4.8K. So it's a net increase in a month of 1.8, 1,800 essentially. So this is what the production function is used for. Now, this is in mathematics, this n basically means uh, like we use it in numbers. So 1 dot 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 n. So you can add many number of inputs that essentially go up and increase your production value. So it's not fixed, but each could determine over here. So for example, C could be entrepreneur. So if you had one entrepreneur originally, but then you hire another two, so it becomes three. So then again your production value may increase because now you have two more minds working constantly to see that with these two additional machines or with these two additional labor skilled workers that we've hired, how can we improve the production process even above 160? So then it could go to 200. So that's 100% increase essentially that we are seeing in the output the entire because we have people who we are hiring, and that is influencing the total value of the production function. So one thing, one additional thing that you should remember is what is the meaning of short run. And this will come up next week when we are doing costs, essentially cost theories. Short run and long run. What do these mean? Short run essentially means within a short period of time, that could be 1 month to 4 months. Okay. Long run means 1 year to 3 years. So over a long period of time. So short run curves, and you'll have a long run curve. And you have markets also that are influenced by the short term and long term, short term and long term values or these time periods. Because what the production function actually sees is that what it actually sees is this time period. So over here, an economist would look at a certain firm in a bubble and then construct a production function before any sort of hiring or before any sort of investment of capital or buying of machines or hiring of workers or even hiring of entrepreneurs take place. He or she may come see the production function and see the total value and then suggest to the owner saying that okay, if we get an investor or if we using that investor's money, if we are able to buy more fixed assets, more more and hire more entrepreneurs and more skilled workers, you will be able to increase the production value of your firm by 100%. So that, and therefore, he or she will calculate an adjusted production function with a short run and a long run time period and show to the owner that look over here, This is the difference an additional investor or an additional grant of money could make. Now, one important thing to remember: in the short run, capital is fixed. While labor and raw material varies. Why is this happening? Why in the short run, within a period of 1 to 4 months, why is capital fixed, and why do labor and raw materials susceptible to change? One reason that this happens is that investors investors and even grants of money or investments in general from investors, it takes a long period of time to get them interested to actually invest in your company. And to see that investment work out, it takes 3 or 4 months, 6 or 7 months, or even a year to actually see that effect. And investors actually invest in a certain company, and then they wait and they see if their investment is paying off, if the interest period payments, or that, as we saw yesterday, the capital that they're investing is a stock concept. So they are investing that money for the long run, for the period of 2 or 3 years, or period of 4 or 5 years. And what they are depending on is the interest that they get, that is that periodical flow, a monthly flow or a 6 or 7 month flow that happens over a period of time. Using that interest, they actually earn money. So they are more interested on getting that 5 year interest or 5 year interest payments by investing in a certain company. So that is why, in the long run, only then, if the person gets unhappy saying that, okay, the interest payments aren't what I expected, or it could be that the person investor is, okay, I'm happy with these interest payments over a 5 year period or a 2 year period. He or she is looking at the interest payments and then making a decision: should I invest more, or should I withdraw my investment? So that is why, in short run, capital investments or capital payments, they are fixed, because investors like to see how their investment pays off, and that takes a long period of time, and then they may reach a decision whether to withdraw the money or to increase the amount of money invested. So then that is when capital values in the production function change, essentially. Labor and raw material varies. Why does it vary? So for example, let's say let's for example say that, yeah, didn't get selected. Let's say D is the cost of raw materials. So what is cost of raw material? So for example, if you're in a shirt factory, you would want to know the price of cotton. That's one thing. So cotton, essentially, if you're making cotton shirts, or if are also making silk shirts, these two are your main sort of raw materials that you're using to manufacture these clothing products. Now, if the price of cotton starts rising, then the total output value may drop. Why does this happen? Because of the price of your raw material is rising, you may buy less of it and reduce the total production that you're creating. Why? One of the reasons why that happens is, when the cost of production goes up, the selling price of your shirts will also go up. Simple reason: because you want to, very simple, it's very, like, you can understand, if the cost of production rises up, your profit margin decreases, so you want to keep your older profit margin to, and make sure that you have enough savings to invest in future expansion of the business, or if you want to just increase your savings in case there is a rainy day as such. So you want to keep your profit margin at the same rate, so you would increase the selling price of your products. If the price drops, you will buy more and you will not change your profit margin. Why? Because your main objective as a capitalist, as running a factory, is to ensure that you earn as much as profit as possible. So even if the price of your raw materials drop, you'll still buy more of it, And manufacturing, your production function value may increase. Of course, it'll increase because you're producing more at a lower rate, but you're selling at the same rate that you were earlier. But your cost of production is being reduced because lower prices of raw materials than what it was before. So the in the short run, in short, and this happens. This can happen suddenly. Next month, the prices of cotton and silk could go up or it could fall. So that is why in the short run, raw material prices of raw material or raw material purchasing and in the production function may change. Um, Sorry, the prices of raw material, cotton and silk may increase or decrease within a period of 1 or 2 months. And therefore, the final value of your production function may change depending on what is the effect essentially. Um, so if the prices go up, your production function would likely to decrease. If your production function, if the prices go down, the production may increase because now you are buying more at a lower rate and you're producing more, trying to produce as much as possible, faster and better because now the prices are low and you do not know, speculation may not be good enough. You do not know in the next 2 months again the prices may go up. So it's better to produce more at this moment of time and sell more rather than to wait and allow the prices to go up again. Uh, so last one of the last points is labor, and is labor is in the short run varies is because of its mobility. So we had discussed mobility yesterday, saying that labor is mobile. That means it can move from A, let's say the city A is Bombay, to city B, that is Kolkata. So they can laborers can move from one city to the other on the fact that okay, in Kolkata we are being paid a higher minimum wage than in Bombay, so we'll sort of move to that city. So what happens in the production function? So let's say you are hiring 10 people, and then there is an increase in wage rate in Kolkata. So out of those 10 people, two leave. So how many you have? You have essentially 8 people now working. So because of that, your labor value is dropping and therefore your production function value may drop. On the other hand, the reverse could happen where people living in Kolkata see that the wage rate in Bombay has increased, so they move from Kolkata to Bombay, and they get hired in your factory. So originally you had 10, and you hire 15 more people. Sorry, 5 more people, so it becomes 15. So your value, the total output in the production function may increase because you've increased the number of laborers that you have. But one thing, and we'll see in the law of variable proportions, you cannot constantly increase it, keep on increasing it, because total productivity also is fixed. And we'll see how that works out. But because labor is mobile and may move from one location to the other depending on where the wage rate is high or low, or where the benefits are much better, we in the short run, and this can happen within 2 months or 3 months essentially. In the next 3 months, let's say now elections are going on in West Bengal. So Mamta, for example, would want to keep power, of course. So she may increase the wage rate, minimum wage, to get more poor people voting for her. And that may influence a large number of laborers from Bihar or Uttar Pradesh to go to West Bengal in search of jobs. So then I may hire a few people from there and give them jobs. So that may increase my production value essentially. So, and this happens within a short period of time, within elections and all of that. Uh, so that is why labor and raw material in the short run within a period of 6 months are very variable, means that they can change. In the long run, that is over a period of 3 years to 5 years, essentially all these factors that we are considering are variable. Capital can change, capital values, investment values can change. The you may realize that okay now, 2 kilometers from where my actual location is, there is an special economic zone, so it's better if I go there. It will save my taxes. It will say help me save on taxes, and I'll get a lot of benefits from the government. So I should move there. So then your entire factory could move to another location, and I can give the older factory for rent if I own it. So in the long run, everything sort of changes. Everything is variable. So that is basically a production function. It takes a specific unit of time, and it sees how the production function, how the total output changes given changes in certain variables that are related, or factors of production that are related to that output value. Now, as we said, one important thing to remember is one important thing to remember is you cannot keep on hiring people and expect productivity to increase. There, the productivity, total productivity is fixed. So, for example, um, so for example, do you remember what disguised unemployment is about?
Um, Disguised
Yeah,
unemployment. So, disguised employment is something like which does not affect the uh, economic output.
yeah. And how does that happen?
Um, when the productivity is low
Yeah,
and when too many workers
yeah,
are are filling only a very few jobs. Yeah.
yeah. So we'll get into that, but it's good that you know that. But before we discuss that and how that plays out, it's important to remember when you're doing law of variable proportions, three important factors. Total product is the output, total output resulting from all the factors of production combined together at any time. So what does this mean? Let's say you're working in that shirt factory, you're the owner of that shirt factory, and you're hiring one person. Okay. So whatever work that person does, that essentially throughout the day. So let's say now it's of course it's almost humanly impossible to make 100 shirts, but just let's say for the example and for the purpose of explaining the theory, let's say that there's this one laborer who can produce 100 shirts a day. So combining the machines, combining the capital flow that you're giving that laborer, and combining the entrepreneur that you have with you, and his or her advice that you're getting from that person, the total output in a day is 100 shirts. So that is your total output. While when you're hiring one person, he or she can produce 100 shirts. He's a very skilled person, very efficient, does not waste time. So he's producing 100 shirts. Average product is, and this will come into play when you're hiring more and more people, but average product is the total product divided by the quantity of labor. So total product is the total value that is being produced in a day by combining all the factors of production. This is 100 shirts. Average product is 100 divided by 1, which ends up coming to be 100 only. So average is the, as I say, everyone knows what an average value is. So average is x plus 1, x plus x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and whatever these values are, the total value is divided by 2, and therefore you get y, which is a division of xy, which is a division of the combined values of x1 and x2. So over here, uh, it is basically 100 divided by the number of laborers, and it comes up to be 100. It comes up to be 100 because the number of laborers you're employing is only one. Marginal product is the total product. Marginal product is a change in total product per unit change in quantity of labor. Now, how do we see this? Very simple to see this. Just minus the greater value with the uh, previous value. And how does marginal product essentially is one unit change. Now, the unit over here that we are seeing is the additional unit of labor or the additional laborer that you are hiring. Now, how does that happen? Now, let's say you are at one laborer, you are manufacturing 100 shirts. So everything essentially is 100. There is no change essentially in all three values. Now you have some capital extra investment, so you can hire one more person. Uh, you hire one more person. How does that affect? So by hiring one more person, your total product increases by 110. How did I make this calculation? Just, this is basically a marginal product. Uh, by just minusing 210 from 100. So your total product increase, we know total output by hiring one more person is 210. So you have 210 shirts being made. So that one additional person you are hiring is more skilled than the previous person. You can manufacture more 10 shirts more than the previous person in a day. So the total product in a day goes up to 210. Average product, nothing but 210 divided by the number of units of labor employed, which comes up to be 105, which is the average value between both of them, combining both of them. 110 marginal product is the unit change by hiring one additional unit of labor. So we've hired one more person. That one more person can produce 110 shirts more than what the original value was. So you see your marginal product is 110. You just do this by 210 minus 100 and that becomes 110. Now let's say again we have additional money. We hired one more person. So you get 1 plus 1. So now your total product is essentially increasing by 120. So by hiring another person who is even more skilled than laborer 2 and 1, laborer 3 is more skilled than 2 and 1, the total product is increasing to 330. Now, as an entrepreneur, as a owner, okay, by hiring more and more people, it's beneficial for me because my total product is going up. But can you observe, and you'll see this later on, but you'll see that eventually you'll reach a point where your AP starts dropping and your marginal product and your average product starts dropping. But let's stick to this exact table, for example, stick to this table for now. So by distilling by hiring three laborers, your total product has increased to 330, um, which is actually 230 more than hiring when you only had one laborer with you. So the average product again is 330 divided by 3. That comes up to 110. Simple division. And your marginal product is nothing but the additional value, the additional units of total product you gain by hiring an additional unit of labor or an additional employee. So that is 120 and just get it by divide minusing 330 by 210. Now, what law of variable proportions essentially states is that the law states that as we increase the quantity, we keep on increasing additional units. We keep on hiring people. We keep on hiring people. And we just keep on hiring people, thinking that, okay, my total product is going up, so it's beneficial for me. I'll be able to sell more and earn more money and invest it further. But the problem happens is with respect, as you said, with disguised unemployment. Productivity in a firm is fixed. You can increase productivity stays fixed at a certain value, let's say X. If we cross this X value, productivity starts falling. Uh, and those, before you reach this X, there are certain signs that we can see with respect to these two factors. If we only look at total product, you will think that you are in comfort zone because your total product is rising. There's no harm happening to me because I can sell more and invest more. But your average product and your marginal product are falling. Why? It's simply put, productivity in a factory or a farm is fixed. If you hire too many number of people to work in that same factory or in that farm, you'll eventually reach a position where you'll have 5 or 6 laborers who are not needed at all, but are drawing a salary and not affecting production value at all, because productivity is fixed. So it's like that saying, too many cooks spoil the broth. Essentially, by hiring too many people, you just spoil the total product value or final result that you're going for. So, yeah,
I see. So
yeah,
to put it into a sentence, we can say that this law completely shows us the nature of rate of change in output
yeah,
due
yeah,
to the change in one of the variable factors of
yeah,
production. Like,
yeah. And the most important, yeah, and the most important labor say, factor of production over here is laborers, like the labor, with number of people that you're hiring.
yeah.
Because as you said in the disguised unemployment question, you see that if you if the farm has a productivity of only 8 people, but you're hiring 15 people, that those additional 7 people that you're hiring, 7 or 8 people that you're hiring, essentially are having a negative productivity value. So they're not influencing the total production, because there are, in an acre of land, there are only limited number of crops you can grow. So for example, in a factory, you cannot keep on buying machines and constantly buying machines to increase your productivity. You need to have the capital to secure those machines. Additionally, you need to have the supply of machines. So if people keep on buying machines, and remember, in a capitalist society, you have competitors. So those competitors are going to go for the same machines that you are going for, because those machines are efficient. Those machines are, they produce a good amount, and everyone wants to get ahead in this rat race. So essentially, what happens is that uh, even in a factory, you can only buy certain amount of machines. Therefore, you can only hire certain amount of laborers or employees or factory workers to actually manage those machines. If you hire more and you do not have any machines to give them to work on, what essentially will happen is their productivity will be negative. So you just can't keep on hiring. And if you keep on hiring, your total product may rise. It may rise. Of course, it will rise because you have more number of people working than what they were before, what it was before. But your average product and your marginal product will start dropping, and this is something we are seeing in that table. So this table is just this table is just a continuation of this previous table. So what we are seeing over here, till four employees, you are seeing a positive increase in average product and marginal product. Both sides are increasing, but again, over here you see it is almost equal. Oh, no, no, sorry. Only till three we see an increase, but from four onwards we see a major drop in marginal product, and average product is essentially staying the same. So we see that, okay, let's say we compare 3 and 4. 330, 110, 120. By additionally adding one more unit of labor, marginal product, total product is rising to 440, but it's not increasing to 460 or 470, where marginal product rate is higher or the average product rate would increase. It's actually, it's increasing only by a certain amount, by a small amount, due to which your average product and your marginal product are not increasing at the same rate. So if you also hire one more person, which is not needed actually, but you have the capital to, um, what is happening over here? So 440 to 520, it's only an increase in 80, and we divide 520 by 5, and you see that the average product is actually decreasing. So 5, 5, 0, and 4. So you keep on hiring more and more people than what is required. What essentially happens is that your average product keeps on dropping. So it's just, and your marginal product also keeps on dropping. So it's like that disguised, it's like disguised unemployment being actually practically being shown, so mathematically being shown. So if we have a farmland, and in this farmland you have certain sections, and within the sections you have, let's say, 100 crops that can be grown. So let's say 10 is the maximum you can hire, so that would be 10 crops per person. But let's say, so our productivity over here stays fixed at 100. Let's say you hire 20 people. Okay, you're hiring 20 people. Yeah, production is staying fixed, so 20 and 2, you see your average value is dropping to 5. So if you keep on hiring people to 30 and then 40, your production value will stay fixed. But what will change is your productive value. So 2 and 5. So it's now gone down to 2.5. So you keep on hiring people without considering the overall productivity cost and the production rates. It will You will eventually reach a point where AP and MP will be negative. And also you'll reach a point where your total productive or a total product also may start declining. But this happens over a long run period. So that will happen over 2 years. You'll see that it's dropping. So this is basically what the law of variable proportions is. Uh, uh, but now there is a graph for this, of course. So like DMU, like, so if you remember what DMU is, diminishing marginal utility, and what is the idea behind that theory? If I have a piece of cake in front of me and I'm hungry, I can eat one big slice of cake, or a second slice of cake, or a third slice of cake. But when I'm approaching my fourth slice, I'll realize that I'm full. If I just keep on eating, I will overeat and I'll feel like puking, and it'll just end up being a bad experience for everyone involved. So that is why this is very similar to diminishing marginal utility, where if you just keep on hiring people, productivity is staying fixed, and essentially what you'll have is just a bunch of people who are who have essentially no role at all, and because number of machines are fixed, the number of crops you can harvest from a certain piece of land is fixed. Therefore, your productivity rate is fixed. So those extra people aren't actually increasing productivity rate or production anyway, unless you buy more land and put them over there, or unless you get the capital investment in the long run to hire more and more people. Um, Only then will your productivity, total product in your AP and your MP will start going up. But if you hire more and more people without considering in a short run, without considering the cost in production, then it will start dropping. Uh, so this is so basically based on a drop. So you can see over here, till this point, till three laborers, it is increasing. All these three factors essentially are increasing. All these three factors are increasing, but you see from the fourth laborer onwards, like let's say fourth is the breaking point. After the fourth laborer, everything is dropping. Essentially, average and marginal product is dropping. So depending on these specific instances or incidents, you have different stages typically of classification of this law of variable proportions, and this is basically what it is. So in stage one, it both AP, MP, and total product are increasing. In stage two, total product is going up. Sorry for the handwriting. Total product is going up. This looks like A. Sorry. Total product is going up, but your average product and marginal product also are going up, but they are not. So let's say over here they are going up by 100 units each, average and marginal. Over here in the second stage, it's just going up by 40 or 30. And as you go more and more above, it'll start decreasing to 20 and 10. So it is increasing, but then see, eventually it'll start dropping. There will be a, so your total product is rising. This is your total product line. It is going up, going up. It'll keep on going up even in stage two. So 4 and 5 will go up. Uh, but we'll start seeing that your average product is stabilized. So this point S is where AP is equal to MP essentially. And after this point, it'll start dropping. Both of them will start dropping in stage two. And in stage
In
three, yeah,
in any way possible, isn't it inevitable to reach this point?
it is inevitable, but it can also be controlled. You can keep it controlled in stage one. And one way that you could do it is identifying the stage over here or over here, identifying these 2 points and restricting the labor inputs that you're the hiring or the firing that you're doing. There's no, especially the hiring that you're doing at this point. You should you should understand that, okay, if I hire more than these number of people, I will get into stage two. So a smart capitalist will not hire more than what is required to ensure that he or she stays in this stage. So it is inevitable, not completely inevitable. It can be avoided if you know how many people to hire depending on the production values, or if you buy and invest in more land. But that only happens in the long run, uh, or if your production function essentially, so if your production function increases. So how does that happen? That will happen only in the long run. Why does that happen? In the long run, over a period of 5 6 years, you may have enough amount of money invested and saved up to actually increase hire more number of people, and even keep yourself in stage one. But in the short run, you have to identify, okay, this is my cutoff point. I cannot cross this stage one at any point. If I do, my total product may rise, my total productivity may rise, but my average and marginal product may not. And therefore, I will not hire more than beyond this point in the short run. In the long run, you can, but you have to see that you will get the capital and to hire more people, as well as get the supply of machines to actually increase productivity and therefore keep you in that specific stage. So it is not completely inevitable. If it will be inevitable if you are a bad manager